Two temporary evacuation centers still active in Sarawak. Landslide tragedy second biggest in death. 6 dead from bus tragedy. These are the headlines for tonight. I'm Handy Gui and you're watching TVS Nightline. Six fatalities were reported after a passenger bus careened off a bridge and plunged into an overflowing river in Spain. Fortunately, two survived the accident, the 63-year-old driver and a female passenger. They were pulled out of the river by firefighters with rope and taken to nearby hospitals with varying degrees of injuries. The coach from the company Monbus was believed to have been traveling between the cities of Lugo and Vigo on Saturday night, December 24th, and had stopped at a penitentiary center near the site of the accident. It skidded off a straight road on the bridge for reasons that remain unclear and plunged at least 40 meters into the water at around 9:30 p.m. local time.
It was a line bus traveling from Lugo to Pontevedra and Vigo. So far, what we know is what we see. It has fallen into the river from a 20-meter high bridge. It is a tragedy, definitely.
Meanwhile, emergency services were first alerted by a call from a passerby who noticed the bridge's protective barrier had been severely damaged. Shortly afterwards, they received a second call from inside the bus as it was filling up with water. The search and rescue operation around the bridge has been concluded by police, while engineers attempted to find a way to safely recover the wreckage from the river. The river's strong current due to heavy rains have hampered efforts to retrieve the bodies throughout the weekend. Meanwhile, the driver of the bus has tested negative for alcohol and drugs. The landslide at the father's organic farm in Batang Kali on December 16 is Malaysia's second worst disaster in terms of fatalities. And according to the Special Malaysia Disaster Assistance and Rescue Team, or SMART, the Highland Towers condo collapsed in 1992 and was the worst tragedy, claiming 48 lives.
31 people were killed in the 2:30 a.m. landslide, but 61 survived after tons of earth came crashing down on the farm campsite. 18 of those killed were adults and 13 were children, with 20 bodies recovered from Sector A, 1 from Sector B, and 10 from Sector C. SMART Commander Muhammad Khairul Jamil said he was shocked by the number of victims in the landslide when they received an emergency call in the wee hours of that day.
Pengalaman yang saya dapat ni satu perkara yang mengejutkan lah. Sebab sebelum ini yang kita lihat rentetan daripada kes-kes sebelum ini hanya 2 orang, 3 orang, 6 orang. Tapi bila melibatkan 100 orang mangsa, jadi menjadi kerisauan kepada saya. So saya menggerakkan pasukan saya untuk berada di site lah, untuk membantu mana yang boleh dibantu.
2 out of 20 temporary evacuation centers, PPS, in Sarawak are still open to shelter flood and landslide victims in Serian. Deputy Premier of Sarawak, Dato' Amar Douglas Ugah Embas, said the 18 other centers have been closed as weather conditions improved.
We continue to pray that the weather will be kind to us, but nevertheless, we have alerted all district office, resident office to continue to be vigilant and to prepare to face any eventuality. Because kadang-kadang Sarawak ni bulan Januari, maybe stretch to the New Year, maybe hujan-hujan lebat and can cause banjir sampai February. So inilah kita, our agencies memang masih in full alert 24 hours.
He said this when met by reporters at the Anglican Christmas Open House at St. Thomas's Cathedral Parish Hall in Kuching on Monday. Commenting on the upgrading of the church, Uga, who is also the minister in charge of Unifor, disclosed that the Sarawak government has approved 2 projects totaling 11.5 million ringgit.
Government has approved 2 project di sini. Satu adalah 3 juta untuk pekakas bangunan dia punya FPNI house. Dia perlu 3 million. And then Columbarium. You tahu apa tu? That one will cost about 8.5 million. It's already approved. So Unifor will process the thing.
At the same time, Uga also highlighted the spirit of solidarity portrayed by the various ethnic and religious groups coming together to liven up today's Christmas open house, as that is the foundation to help achieve the objective of PCDS 2030. Now, Sarawak is a great example of a united state where its people from different backgrounds could celebrate festivities together in a peaceful manner. Such can be witnessed during the Anglican Christmas Open House hosted by the St. Thomas's Cathedral at its parish hall.
We are very fortunate that we are able to celebrate Christmas in a very peaceful environment, where there is high degree of tolerance among the various faith in Sarawak. And this has been there for ages, and therefore we have to sustain and protect this high tolerance between us.
Abang Johari added that Sarawakians have a high degree of tolerance among different faiths, and it is important to sustain this harmony. He cited the Lutong Church as an example where the parking facilities are shared between the churches and mosques for congregants.
You allow the Muslim to use your parking spaces on Friday, and then the mosques also give way to Christians to park their cars during Sunday. That is a very, very complicated between us.
During the celebration, the Premier presented mock checks to 5 charitable bodies, namely Sarawak Society for the Blind, Sarawak Cheshire Home, Society for Cancer Advocacy and Awareness Kuching, Kuching Autistic Association, and Rumah Suri Kenangan Kuching, who received 10,000 ringgit respectively. Also present were Deputy Premier Dato Amar Douglas Ugah Embas and his wife Datin Amar Doreen Mayang, Minister for Tourism, Creative Industry and Performing Arts Dato Sri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah and his wife Datin Zuraini Abdul Jabbar, Bandar Kuching MP Dr. Kelvin Yee, Democratic Action Party DAP Sarawak Chairman and Stampin MP Chong Cheng Jen, Kota Sentosa Assemblyman Wilfred Yap, and Batu Kitang Assemblyman Lo Kier Chiang. Meanwhile, on another matter, the state government is funding the repairs for all mission schools despite the insufficient funding from the federal government to meet the needs of all schools. The Premier of Sarawak, Dato' Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Opang, clarified that mission schools in Sarawak are legacies left behind by the LaSalle brothers, which instill values that made Sarawak what it is today.
If not because of education, I do not know where are we. But because of that spirit of togetherness, we are able to build our community in such high tolerance level. I, for one, also benefit from the mission school. And I think our friends here are also the same thing. So we are contributing back what we have benefited back to the society.
He said this when speaking at the Anglican Christmas Open House at St. Thomas Cathedral Parish Hall here on Monday. Abang Johari revealed that the Minister of Works, Datuk Seri Alexander Nanta Linggi, informed him that the federal government is facing constraints as there were inadequate funding to improve the schools in Kapit. Abang Johari added the state government has recently passed the Sovereign Wealth Future Fund Bill with the purpose to secure the future of Sarawakians. Meanwhile, he also reminded Sarawakians to protect and sustain the high degree of acceptance and tolerance among the different religions in Sarawak that has enabled all celebrations conducted in a very peaceful environment. Present in the event was Deputy Premier Dato' Amar Douglas Uga Embas, Minister of Tourism, Creative Industry and Performing Arts Dato' Seri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, as well as Sarawak Democratic Action Party DAP Chairman Chong Chien Jen and Bandar Kuching MP Dr. Calvin Yee.
The stage-level celebration of New Year will still go on, but on a much smaller scale. This decision is final, said Minister of Tourism, Creative Industry and Performing Arts, Dato' Sri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, as advised by the Prime Minister, Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim. He hopes the celebration would be a significant event for Sarawakians to mark the end of a year filled with not only obstacles, but positive outcomes as well.
Jadi tahun ini kita sudah berjaya sedikit sebanyak menghadapi peperangan melawan COVID. We are not facing that kind of problem that we face. That is a cause for celebration. We can see that the number of visitors, tourists coming in, they come in the hundreds of thousands now, in the millions now. So people are happy. I think that is a cause for celebration.
Karim then emphasized the celebration was not meant to ignore the flood problem agonizing many nationwide.
I'm not trying to counter, but I still feel that there's nothing wrong in celebrating, but we tone down. Kita rasa simpati terhadap mereka yang menghadapi masalah, musibah. We are very, very sorry for that. We sympathize with them. But I think there's nothing wrong in us celebrating.
The line of performers as well as the fireworks show remains unchanged, said Karim. Members of the public are welcome to attend the 2023 New Year Countdown celebration at Stadium Perpaduan. The celebration will also be broadcasted live on TVS.
Hello there and welcome back. Now, Met Malaysia has issued a strong winds and rough seas warning in the waters of several states until Thursday, December 29th. For Sarawak, Met Malaysia announced a Category 2 warning involving strong winds phenomenon at a speed of 50 to 60 km per hour, with waves as high as 4.5 meters.
Meanwhile, a Category 3 warning involving strong northeasterly winds exceeding 60 kilometers per hour, with waves rising above 4.5 meters in the waters of West Sabah, Labuan, and East Sabah. The same warning is also issued for shipping in the waters southeast of Reef North, Labuan, East Palawan, and Sulu, which is expected to occur until tomorrow, December 27th. Moreover, a first category warning of strong winds at a speed of between 40 to 50 kilometers per hour, with waves reaching 3.5 meters, are expected to occur in the waters of East Johor, Pahang, Terengganu, and Kelantan until Thursday. The warning involved the areas in the waters of Tioman and South Burungan and is dangerous to small crafts and sea recreational activities.
Now, following the collapse of 70 stilt houses in Sandakan on Saturday, December 24th, 38 more collapsed the next day. Sandakan District Police Chief ACP Abdul Fuad Abdul Malik said the cause was due to the high tide phenomenon.
Pada pagi tadi, kita senang pasti sebanyak 38 buah rumah telah roboh. Menjadikan jumlah keseluruhan hingga hari ini adalah 108 buah rumah. Yang terkinilah yang kita dapat pagi tadi selepas apa yang berlaku semalam. Kemudian di pusat penempatan sementara di SK Sungai Anit pun telah meningkat, menjadikan jumlah 684 orang berada di SK Sungai Anit, iaitu tempat yang dijadikan sebagai pusat penempatan sementara.
He said this when met by the reporter at the Disaster Operations Control Centre in Kampung Forest, Sandakan on Monday. No casualties were reported as residents in the coastal areas had adhered to the authorities' advice to vacate their homes last night. Fuad added the high tide phenomenon is expected to occur again, adding that the police have deployed assets and personnel to aid the residents in evacuation.
Barisan Pasukan Hadapan amat berharap agar penduduk-penduduk di sekitar Sandakan yang berada di pesisir pantai terus patuh kepada arahan untuk mengosongkan rumah, meninggalkan kawasan rumah kerana dijangka pada malam ni juga masih lagi fenomena air pasang besar akan berlaku.
The Ministry of Health MOH has begun drawing up plans to resolve the issue of overcrowding in emergency and trauma departments. According to Health Minister Dr. Zaliha Mustafa, this aims to provide more efficient services to the people.
Dr. Zaliha said the ministry was also looking at all the latest data, conducting audit and research related to the workload and overcrowding of emergency and trauma departments nationwide to identify problems faced by the department. Dr. Zaliha added in order to find out the specific problems and needs according to each state, the ministry will hold engagement sessions in various quarters and relevant stakeholders. This includes the Malaysian Medical Association, MMA, the Association of Private Hospitals Malaysia, APHM, and the private sector. Dr. Zaliha further said the MOH consistently put forth efforts to address the issue by also requesting funds and additional staff from the government to overcome the issues of lack of allocation and shortage of manpower, equipment, and infrastructure. Meanwhile, she said the ministry would also look at the potential of strategic collaboration with the private sector, including general medical practitioners, to further strengthen primary healthcare. She said the overcrowding issue had also been reported in the Auditor General's Report 2018, which stated that the congestion was caused by insufficient allocations, a shortage of health personnel, and lack of facilities to meet patients' needs.
Thank you for staying with us. Now on to some global affairs. Russia has marched further into one of Ukraine's strongholds, Bakhmut, as constant shelling destroys apartments and residential areas since the city was under attack 5 months ago. Though no accurate number of deaths was reported from the recent bombing, many are left celebrating Christmas in a state of horror.
On Saturday, I thought it would be a festive mood, but no way, as every single day we are dealing with people's sufferings, and it has its consequences. Regarding the situation here, it is very loud. Things are shaking and jumping everywhere. We have to survive and we will keep on living. That's it.
Bakhmut had a population of 70,000 prior to the conflict. Russia's attack has significantly reduced its population close to 10,000 people. If the attack is successful, it will give Russia a stepping stone to advance on 2 bigger cities. These would deprive Ukraine of road access and rail supply intersection. Russia is ready to negotiate with all parties involved in the war in Ukraine. However, Russian President Vladimir Putin said Ukraine capital Kiev and its Western backers have refused to engage in talks.
Russia's February 24th invasion of Ukraine has triggered the most deadly European conflict since World War II and the biggest confrontation between Moscow and the West since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. The Kremlin said it will fight until all its aims are achieved, while Kyiv said it will not rest until every Russian soldier is ejected from all of its territory. In an interview with Rossiya 1 state television, Putin said Russia is ready to negotiate with everyone involved about acceptable solutions. He added that that is up to Ukraine and that they are the ones refusing to negotiate, not Russia. However, an advisor to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Putin needed to return to reality and acknowledge it was Russia which did not want talks. Meanwhile, Russian attacks on power stations have left millions without electricity, and Zelensky said Moscow would aim to make the last few days of 2022 dark and difficult.
Now, the deadly blizzard has immobilized both Buffalo and New York, trapping people in their cars, knocking out electricity, and increasing the death toll from a harsh winter storm that froze the United States for days. New York Governor Katie Hochul called it a once-in-a-lifetime disaster, adding that President Joe Biden has agreed to oblige to her request for a federal disaster declaration.
The National Guard is here. Last yesterday, I've been in contact with the White House. Just spoke in the last hour with Ron Klain, the Chief of Staff to President Biden. He has assured me that within a very short time of them receiving our request for a disaster declaration, it will be granted. And that is good news for us to be able to start covering the cost of this epic, once-in-a-lifetime storm that we're now having to deal with. So that is an update from the White House. The President is very concerned about this. He said, whatever you need from the White House, we will be there for you, and I'm grateful to President Biden for that support as well.
Meanwhile, Erie County Executive Mark Polokas said the blizzard's confirmed deaths climbed to 12 from 3 on Christmas just overnight in Buffalo region.
Unfortunately, we have 12 deaths that have been confirmed by the Erie County Department of Health Medical Examiner Office. I can specifically note that 6 were in the city of Buffalo, 3 were in the town of Amherst, of which 1 of them was in the village of Amherst, located in the town. 3 were in the town of Cheektowaga, of which 1 of them was in the village of Depew in the town of Cheektowaga. The youngest individual was age 26. The oldest individual was age 93. And unfortunately, we do believe, based on reports we're getting from the field, we are going to get a number, hopefully not a significant number, but a number of additionally confirmed deaths in the next 6 hours because of bodies that have been found but have not yet been transported to hospital for identification and confirmation of death. To all who've lost a loved one, and some of those folks may not even know it yet, just, you have our deepest condolences. This has just been a horrible, the worst type of storm you can imagine. And you have my deepest condolences on behalf of the people of Erie County for the loss of a loved one on Christmas Day.
As China is grappling with a new wave of COVID-19 infections, its people were seen crowding and waiting at hospital clinics. Doctors in Beijing said the hospitals are struggling and there are fears that the patients may have to be turned away due to lack of resources. As China's National Health Commission (NHC) confirmed that there were almost 400,000 symptomatic cases as of December 22nd, and the numbers keep increasing.
There was no preparation. Like, nobody knew. Like, the decision was made on a Sunday, and on Monday, people were showing up in the ER saying, you know, oh, I don't need to scan, I don't need to get tested, you know, and then they started showing up sick. But, you know, there was no stockpiling of medications. You know, the hospital is just overwhelmed from top to bottom. So, you know, the ER filled up with people. A lot of them got admitted to the hospital. They're not getting better in a day or two, so there's no flow. And therefore, people keep coming to the ER, but they can't go upstairs into hospital rooms, so they're stuck in the ER.
Sonia Jutard-Bureau, Chief Medical Officer at Beijing's Raffles Medical Hospital, said that turning away patients will come sooner than expected as resources are running out.
As a private facility, usually we never refuse patients. No. And it's possible that we arrive there, because we don't have beds anymore, or, enough resources to treat the patient.
At the same time, funeral homes and crematoriums in the country are reportedly struggling to meet demands. British-based health data firm Airfinity last week estimated that China was experiencing more than 1 million infections and 5,000 deaths a day.
That's all the time we have for TVS Nightline. I'm Handy Gui. Thank you for watching.